I've been invited into rooms because of how I've looked, but I've left rooms with offers because of what I said.
Trash or cash, trash or cash. Is the idea trash or is cash? Let us know. Yes, maybe so, or for sure, it's a no. Should we stop while we ahead and turn around, or it's a go? Trash or is cash? Go on ahead, submit your vote. Hey yo, check dig, you're now tuned in to Trash or Cash Podcast, the show where the host will present a new idea and debate whether it's trash or cash. But the final decision is solely up to you, the audience.
What's the biggest offer or deal you closed with that mindset? Like, awesome mindset. Which one stands out as the biggest time as like proving that, concept?
Graduated college, probably was 21, 22, and I had a female boss who was also a really big mentor of mine at the time, and I got to go to a conference or trade show that was among the top largest organizations within our field. And the way they set up these meetings, as we were a vendor and trying to sell to our clients, was almost like speed dating. And earlier in the day, I had a meeting where I got to speak with a gentleman with a $500+ million business, the CEO. Later that evening, we just happened to be crossing paths. I was walking with my female mentor, female boss, and I was like, oh, hey, said his name. And he invited myself to dinner, not my mentor and boss who was standing there with me. It was himself and his M&A team, his mergers and acquisition guys. And it was very apparent to me that I was invited there as a younger female. But by the time I ended that night, there was open for discussion and conversations to not only work for himself, but also in the M&A organization, which is actually what I do today in business brokering. So I was brought on where all of my counterparts are 60-year-old men and majority Caucasian. There's one woman in her 70s, but that's about it. And I have the opportunity to facilitate pretty large transactions and feel extremely privileged to have kind of gotten to jump the scale a little bit and get to do this at such an early age and bring in a business partner of mine where we do all of our transactions together. He's young 30s as well, but that's sort of a privilege to get to be where I'm at and in those rooms at the age I'm at.
So I can totally tell that you just lit up through that story. So I know that was the right question to ask. So yeah, thank you for sharing that for me. Because
Sure.
I see it in your eyes. I was like, oh man, I felt like you were in love with me for a second, but it was because of the story you were telling. Because I was just like, oh my God, it was so, things running through your head. It was just like, I could see behind your eyes, like how powerful that was for you and how validating, like your brain overcame everything there. And you kind of you did like a 3D chess move where they try to back you into one corner and you sort of totally flipped it into something else, which is always awesome to hear those kind of stories. So thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I feel, look, it would have been probably any younger female. I am not a Victoria's Secret model, not going to pretend to be, not even 5 feet tall. So very much a foot or two lower than the height requirement there.
Short queen.
But it is something that our age, our gender, all of these elements, our ethnicity, while yes, they can be used as a target, they can also be used as an agent. And making sure that we're putting ourselves in rooms that we are valued and are able to hear more of what we have to say. But at this current point, with the landscape of the environment, there's double standards. So you might as well play the hand that you're given rather than try to change the whole system. Or even if you're trying to change the whole system, still work within the system that we have today.
Yeah. Use what you got to get what you want. I mean, that's the game. We only have the cards we're dealt. It's not about crying that you only got a pair. It's how you use that pair.
Absolutely.
And probably that wasn't the best analogy right now.
No, it's funny. I use it. That's the exact analogy I use in poker is like, you can be dealt, say, a 2 and a 3 or a set of kings and still win. One is easier than the other per se, maybe. But in reality, you can still come up ahead with bluffing.
Sometimes the cards ain't even shown and get it, and you still win, right? Yeah. So that's an awesome analogy. So you ready to have some fun?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Cool. That was just the appetizer. So if that resonated with you, then we're gonna have some good time. So welcome to the Trash or Cash podcast. I'm your host, Jason Centeno, and this lovely young lady is Jenna Schwartz. She probably should have some titles, but for right now, we're just Jenna and Jason. So Jenna, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for rescheduling because I know you were sick last time, so that was cool that you followed through. That was awesome. Have you seen one of the episodes before?
I was watching a couple of them over the last few weeks. Yeah, I think I was kind of getting the sound bites more so than watching all the way through, though. Yeah,
and you're getting the essential vitamins, so that's cool. I just wanted to make sure because sometimes people don't what am I doing here? What I kind of want to keep it fresh and not get some surprises in there, but I didn't want to catch anybody off guard. But I just wanted to make sure. But for people who have never seen one of these before,
sure.
The whole premise of this is. We're here in Tampa, so I focus on Tampa entrepreneurs, and this is kind of a networking / kind of Shark Tank-esque show between two friends, two fellow entrepreneurs, and the only qualifications really is if you're kind of interesting, you got some good ideas, and you are not afraid of being taped. That's pretty much it. I don't want to say I'm not selective. I am, but you don't have to be like Mark Cuban or somebody with power or anything like that. I'm not an attention whore in that aspect. I just I dig talking to people, great conversations, and recording it and seeing what happens, and also the ideas that come from it, and also every once in a while unsticking someone because that's always fun too. And it's trash or cash because I have a trash business, a trash app I call Trash Mitter. It's Uber for trash. So I bring that to the table, tech, entrepreneurship and stuff. And I always pick people like yourself that are doing some interesting things that are maybe not trash related, but why not? Trash or cash sounds fun, right? I mean, we got the paddles and everything. We got the swag. We got a DJ. We try to have fun within the limits of our branding. Sure. And this was my attempt. So hopefully you're good with that. Apparently you are. You're here. We even got you the nice green light so you stay on branding. So yeah, you've probably come across a lot of wild ideas as what was your position in Tampa Entrepreneurs again? What did you call yourself?
I'm the Chief Experience Officer for Tampa Entrepreneurs.
Chief Experience Officer. But that's a clever way of saying she didn't want to be CEO because she wanted to kind of do the work and not be the figurehead of it. Because that's really what it is. If you know anything about businesses, sometimes in a rock band, right? There's always that front person. But that's because the other kind of geniuses are behind the background. They don't want that spotlight. They want freedom to work and let that other person take all that attention and the stuff that sometimes we don't even want to deal with. So I'm not saying that's what you did. I'm just saying that's what I do sometimes. So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Or you just want to say because it's going to be out there in the world?
No, of course.
Because I know Joe, so that's how we kind of met. So
that's true. I mean, Tampa Entrepreneurs, truthfully, I was brought into because I was already running and co-hosting women's mentoring and networking groups. And a few of these wonderful gentlemen here in Tampa had asked me if I'd sort of help out with a entrepreneurial networking event. And I thought it was going to be a one-off. Had no idea what I got myself into, right? And we had Joe is our CEO and kind of the brains. We have Ryan as our chief of strategy. Simon is our chief of operations. And then we have Errol as chief of finance, and then myself as chief of experience. And quite realistically, to be successful, we all is a team, at least. It's helpful that we have complementary skill sets in what we do. And we kind of all fell into roles that suited our natural skill sets. For me, in all of the different for-profit and nonprofit businesses that I do, there's a couple core elements that are pretty common. And typically it's connecting of people and helping individuals grow with sort of this underlying or tertiary skill set of caring for others in terms of how they feel about what they're doing and where their experiences are. So in Tampa Entrepreneurs, I get to do it by ensuring the experience is presented to all of our attendees in the way that we really want them to explore it. In business brokering, I'm often helping sellers let go of their baby, something they started, it could be 30, 40 years ago. And especially since we're mostly business brokering, home health, hospice, pharmacies, these are individuals who, this woman may have been a nurse and she was so passionate about what she was doing, she decided to go off and, create her own home care business. Her background in credentialing is in being a nurse, caring for people. Her business wasn't in, or her background wasn't in business. So then when she grows this for 30 years, it's extremely emotional to go to sell your business. So if you have a broker who is straight just, completely forgetting about all of that emotional component of it, it can be a very challenging experience to actually move through to close a transaction.
So what I heard there, and I want to rewind a little bit, is if this was the Avengers, I'm not going to call you Black Widow, but she was the heart, and you bring heart to this because of the story you just described. So there's the Tampa Entrepreneurs Groups, which is a nonprofit, and it's an outreach, and it's meant to cultivate relationships and bring people together. It's how we met each other.
Yeah.
Half the people in this building met over there one way or another just because we just keep connecting with each other. But the business brokering part, that's your real gig. That's the money maker. That's how you make a living. And I thought that was really interesting because, we're in a place where there's a lot of real estate professionals, and we're used to flipping houses, and you're flipping businesses, or or rather not flipping, but you're selling businesses like a person would sell a house, like a retail thing, but with the care necessary for the seller's agent to have, because like you just said, the seller is wrapped up in their feelings and their experience and their memories of the thing, and you're just trying to make this transition as peaceful as possible for everybody. So that's where I heard the heart part. And that's something that, I'm going to be honest with you, I want more female entrepreneurs on this podcast, because guys are more about muscle, strength, energy. And that's Joey's like energy, right? Like that's energy. And, people like you bring more a softer touch, a more emotional intelligence, some other things that we miss because we're so busy breaking things and trying to change the world that we forget the messes we leave or in people's lives, because we're just like, we're about the win, we're about the points, right? And sometimes you can score less and have a better, let's just say score less and be slower and more effective and have more impact than just running and gunning. And I'm guilty of that too. I break a lot of stuff. Ask my wife. And leave a lot of messes, but hopefully we're responsible enough to clean up. But we still need those people around us to remind us, hey, don't forget this, don't forget that, and also just guidance. Like, hey, we need another opinion. We need the other blind spots. You're there to help us with our blind spots and to complement the energies that we bring to it. Yes. So
truthfully, actually, I was so fortunate that a really good friend of mine, and now he's pretty much my business partner in almost everything I do, Josh Hibbert, you know who you are. We actually represent the buyers. So we have buyers that are seeking to purchase pharmacies, home health, hospices across nationwide in the country. And then we have to go convince sellers to go to sell to our particular buyers. And now don't get me wrong, I can sit at a negotiation table, no problem, but it's so incredible having the dichotomy of his skill set and my skill set. And one of the words he used was blind spot. And having him and I on a call with the same buyer and the same seller, there is completely different things we can pick up on and different elements of, okay, your personality makes a little more sense to communicate with this individual versus mine maybe over here. And so again, it's playing to our strengths and building out a team that complements each other.
And good cop, bad cop always works.
Yes. And I am privileged that he takes the brunt of being bad cop. And I take the therapy calls. So, we
total tangent, but it just reminded me of something I thought was funny. So, a lot of people have telemarketers and people who call, right?
Sure.
Say, hey, do you want to sell something? Or I'm reaching out, their customer service, their agent. And one of the things I learned, and this was this funny street wisdom, was a guy who used to go and he goes, when I call sellers or anybody, call sellers, I always hire my aunt because she has this sweet Southern old lady voice, and you can't be mad at a person that's talking to you. You have to slow down. You suddenly get manners around someone like that if they're talking to you in that sweet Southern drawl accent. And I always found that funny because it's so true. Like, all the people you can get mad at interrupting your life or just reaching out to you for no reason because it's kind of a disturbance. It causes you to pause when it's somebody like that, because just everything that you think about when you think of grandma and Southern and sweet and all that, and you like can't be mad at them. And I'm just thinking, like, I don't think enough people think that kind of stuff through, but like that's kind of just this random nugget that you reminded me of.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody figures out and uses that for their sales team in the future. Sometimes just call, hey, get grandma on the phone and call this guy. He's a little bit difficult. Maybe they think it's a Tinder hookup. It's an old guy trying to sell something for too much money. You never know, but sorry for the tangent. I'm going to ask you to give us a 1 to 2 minute introduction to yourself, because we kind of skipped over it.
Oh, we did, yes.
But like, hey, I'm Jenna. I do this. This is what we do, just like
Sure.
a not an elevator pitch, but a couple minutes, so that we can get into some real questions that I want to ask you. Okay.
All right. So, once again, I'm Jenna. I have apparently no titles as we got on the beginning of this podcast.
You could be queen of this podcast if you want right now.
And however, I do have the privilege to get to split my time with a lot of different businesses, both for-profit and nonprofit. One of them is business brokering, where I represent buyers and facilitate the transaction of the actual purchasing of hospices, pharmacies, home health, home care, hospitals, healthcare organizations typically. I do get all sorts of deals though across my desk, and I love to connect people. I also have Provenance Consulting Group, where I co-founded that with Josh Hibbert, and we started off as consulting and coaching, now bringing in an element of AI to help operate and streamline businesses a little bit quicker into their scalability. And then a lot of the areas that I do is pretty much more volunteer. I'm a big advocate in the domestic abuse space and had started a charity for domestic abuse victims, as well as sit with the Spring of Tampa Bay. They're one of my favorite organizations here in Tampa. I'm part of their committee and sit on helping them build their fundraisers each year as well. And then I get to do my networking. I do Tampa Entrepreneurs, where I get to be our chief experience officer and help bring to light large events for all you entrepreneurs out there. It is free to attend our events, so we definitely welcome you to join us, as well as also co-hosting with Bria Patty women's mentoring and networking events called Boss Talks. Those ones we do almost monthly. And I guess I sound busy, but I'm less busy than I think people might guess.
I was gonna say, what do you do for fun? You made me tired just hearing that list. I was like, damn, I need another Celsius.
I have two sides of me on things that I do for fun. I'm either in my bed at 8 p.m. doing the New York Times crossword puzzles, or might be out till 2 or 3 in the morning enjoying some wine or tequila neat, which is oftentimes I'm challenged. It's called a tequila shot, but I call it tequila neat.
Fun fact: tonight there's a happy hour here. You're welcome to come back.
Thank you.
It's for the collab, but be my guest. So yeah, that was a lot. I mean, you actually almost threw me off with that. Oh, I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah.
You do a lot of stuff. What do you think? How do you feel about the term boss babe? Like, what does that do to you? Does that make you cringe? Is that something you want to own? Because real talk, that's what I see or hear.
Well, thank you.
But again, it's overused and cliche too. So like, for you, what is that? What is it? How does that make you feel hearing that? Would you call yourself that?
No. Okay. Do I mind if I'm called that? Also, no.
Okay, got it. So it's not insulting to you?
Absolutely not.
Cool.
I think there is a lot of different names that a lot of different people could call me, whatever realm of the spectrum you want it to be, whether it's a friend, a boss babe, a follower, a leader. I think our relationships and how we interact with individuals may affect the term that might perceive us. The actual term boss babe in itself, I think, is an opportunity to have women work together as an encouragement, as a collective, to grow and support one another. which I am part of. I do women's networking events, and it is called Boss Talks. However, again, I'm also part of Tampa Entrepreneurs, and it's really important to me to not rely on just being the feminine boss babe, right? I also want to have a seat at the table for just what I have to bring to the table without that terminology.
Got it.
Did I answer the question?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
What is your vision of the future? Like, where do you see yourself 5-10 years from now in Tampa? Tampa Entrepreneurs is like a big thing now.
Sure.
Your other business is booming.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still doing that, doing something else? I mean, because you listed a lot of things, but like,
Yeah.
you know, and you talked about AI, so good Lord, you
Yeah.
could just be like, you know, sitting back in a big old chair, just, you know, running different things with a couple clicks. But I don't know, what does that look like, your vision for the future?
So I do think it's important to me to have specific goals for the future. However, having the space to ebb and flow with what's going on in the marketplace, because I can't read the tea leaves. I don't know what's going to happen in our environment in 5-10 years.
You want to know something? I feel the same way. It's like, I asked that question and some people have a very clear vision and I kind of have one, but what you just said, it ebb and flow and things change. So it's like, it's going to change.
What I will say is I think I will always, I shouldn't use the term always, but I intend to stay with my roots and my values of making decisions to be part of projects and organizations that stick with growth and connecting. And that's growth for both myself and for the recipient of whatever it is I'm working on. And I just really struggle to go anywhere without attempting to connect people. I self-identify as a connector.
Same. Legacy-wise, what does that look like? Like, is it an organization? Is it an effect? Is it 100 children you adopted? Because that's kind of like one of my things in my head. But
I
go
love
ahead.
that.
Well, I want to be instrumental in the adoption of 100 children. What that means to me is I don't necessarily take them under my house, but let's say this conversation, we have one. I told you about our journey. We adopted 5. I helped another 3, and I'm on a mission to see 100. And if you say adopt one, I count that on my ledger. That's just me sharing it to you real quick. We can go deeper with that. But like, for you, like legacy-wise, what do you, like you said, the women's organization you're part of, could be anything. What do you want to leave when you're gone? The effect.
So to me, I don't know if my legacy that I intend to have is going to be something that, you know, is easy to write on a Wikipedia page or something of that nature. I don't think it's going to be a business or a specific person. What I want for my legacy is anything that I took the time to learn, experience, overcome. If I can pass down resources to speed that up for someone else, that is the legacy, because then they get to live their purpose and their goals and happiness as soon as possible. So mine will be throughout just getting to share the work that I've done.
Jenna AI.
Oh boy, I definitely don't know it all, but
That's great. All right, so let's get into the fun part. The last guest I arm wrestled, we're not going to do that unless you really want to, because I think I could take you. But
I won't embarrass you today.
You don't want to embarrass me?
No.
All right, we might have another arm wrestling contest at the end. That might just be the theme.
Can't hold the table this time, though.
Yo, that was because he dragged me over there. All right, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's
I'm
the
kind of
sauce-
like a little chihuahua. I have a bigger bite than my bark, or I have a
I'll
bigger
pull
bark
you
than my
across the
bite,
table.
right? I probably wouldn't embarrass you. You'd probably
All right, so
completely
this
win.
is the trash talk segment. We're about to go deep now. All right, so apparently Jenna thinks she could take me. That remains to be seen. But let's get down to the business part. So,
Sure.
trash or cash, we each bring an idea to the table.
Yeah.
You dig? We got the paddles here.
Okay.
And basically, you know, you hear the idea, whether it's fully formed or partially, and you think it could be good. It's a cash idea. You think it would suck. It couldn't sustain. It's a trash idea. We normally fall somewhere in between. I think only 2 people have gotten a total cash idea before. They always come with caveats, but this isn't about trashing anybody's idea per se. It's more about like,
Yeah.
you know, let's just knock it around, see where the blind spots are, hopefully approve it, and maybe we come up with something genius. And quick secret, there's actually a VC sitting in the other room coming in that maybe he hears this and he's like, oh, I'm going to talk to that person. So you never know what could happen. That's the fun part. That's the spinning the wheel of destiny part that we do in here that we're going to talk about. You want to go first? Ladies first?
Happy to.
All right, let's go. Let's hear the idea.
Okay, so where I'll start is I barely have talked about it, but Provenance Consulting Group. We, like I said, had started with some coaching and consulting. And we wanted to respond to some of the different changes we had seen in the marketplace. Day to day, it's pretty common to Google, right? Where should I go to eat? Where do I go to apply for a job? Where do I go to purchase XYZ? Now we have something called ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, you can ask it just about anything. When is daylight savings? Or teach me about ABC. And it can bring a lot of output. And it's spitting out history that's going in from everything going in it. Where Josh and I saw an opportunity is with, smaller to medium-sized organizations looking for a way to scale. We decided to confine a digital assistant. So it's like a ChatGPT, but that is specifically trained on an organization's proprietary information, whether it's internal and it's used for training, or whether it's external for your customers in like FAQs. Kind of think of, a live chat box that you currently can put those widgets on, but where again is those widgets coming from? That data is Google. That data is coming from all over, as opposed to being specifically confined to your proprietary information and making sure that it is not as broad.
Got it.
So
what do you call this?
Visionary, AI capitalized.
You have to fight with Visionary Vega over that one. He was in here a couple weeks back. Only because that's his branding, right? So that's all. So cash, but I gotta tell you, in Tampa, there is a guy who already built something like this. His name is Sean Ramphel. I actually want to have him Ramphel. So let me tell you what he did, and then how he's made that a reality. He calls this a digital agent, right? So when I saw him, he reminded me of Jeff Goldblum when he was in Jurassic Park. That chaos theory kind of weird, super intelligent kind of. Okay. They created they call it a digital AI. It's an assistant, but it's an agent. In other words, it is your what you're talking about, trained to your specific needs, right? His was more personal, so it would just be a little bit of a flip of a switch. But it looks just like Eva from what do you call it? With Wall-E.
So it's an actual robot.
You'll go on your phone. This is what he showed me. You go on your phone. You got this little Eva-looking robot talking to you in whatever language you want, because it started speaking to me in Japanese, and he's like, "Oh, I got to change it back to English."
Sure.
And it becomes basically your right-hand man.
Okay.
And it's called Maya. That's the name of the AI. But the point I'm trying to make is, you don't necessarily have to make it. You just need to go to Sean and be like, "Hey, we need it for this. Can you make us an agent for that?"
Right.
So if you really need that now, let me know. I'll point you his direction.
Well, we have some technology that we're leveraging to be able to do this, and we find that, and that's still great. And one of the things is, oh, that's good. Yes, we always have cash ideas in here, right?
Cash, yeah.
We wanted to ensure that we're leveraging some of the latest technology, because it's ever changing, and it's maybe and this sounds awesome too for us. For your organization, Maya wouldn't be enough. We're going to have Maya, we're going to have Mary, we're going to have Melanie. Right. And the reason for that is because you want to make sure that your specific assistant is confined to a specific data set, and really testing the limits and the bounds of how much data you can really plug in to ensure that your user experience is as smooth as possible.
I totally get it. Meaning that everybody has their idea of what an AI should be like.
Sure.
For their needs.
Yeah.
But like a child, it's yours, trained for your specific family, right? Broken or not.
Right.
with all the personalities that come with you, because it's for your business and you know how you run your business the best.
Right.
So it is your digital agent / child. So maybe what you come up with is probably a little bit better. So I will give you that, because what he's talking about is more for personal.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about is specifically, co-pilots, let's say, for businesses.
And let's also talk about the fact that, where this is really helpful is, again, these kind of smaller to medium-sized organizations where that CEO has all these SOPs in their head, or standard operating processes, right? And it's not down on paper yet. Well, remember, we started as consulting and coaching. We can help get those out of the brain, put it into the digital assistant, and as they're now starting to grow and scale, they can stay a lot more lean while still making sure all this data gets organized and put into systems to make it a lot easier for their onboarding and hiring is a big area that we're seeing it in, especially.
I zoned out for a second, not to what you were saying, but thinking, like, for me, it's the untangling of the things in my head so that they're can be actually implemented.
Yeah.
So in my head, this thing is called Untangle, and it's just like, hey, you're just going to record your whole voice in this thing, and it's going to organize all these things and see all the blind spots and point out some things that are missing so that you can fill them in and make it better. Because it's, sometimes we think in step A, C, F, G, M, Z,
Right.
and somebody needs to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And we need somebody to take that for us, because not all of us have that ability to,
Right.
or it's just a longer process, to fill in those blanks. So that actually appeals to me. Like, I don't know, maybe Otter AI will get better and just say, hey, take all that and put it in here and we'll untangle it for you.
And so we do, like you were saying, is so for an organization who already has SOPs, already has training modules, we do specifically feed that data into our system. But if they don't already have it, we can sit down and have a conversation like this. We have a solution that tracks and organizes those conversations, and then we can also put that in there to really ensure that it's your proprietary data vision.
And you're working on this now. Yeah,
it's available.
All right. We got that. I'm gonna let you drop the little info at the end on that.
Sure.
So I'm gonna hit mine real quick because we're kind of running a little late, but that's okay. That's my fault. So my idea, I think you'll dig. It's not fully formed, but it was something I've been thinking about. So a community building app.
Okay.
So what makes a community or a collective strong? It's how they help each other, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's the connection part, like actually not just showing up, but like doing work and having outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So some kind of event, some kind of app where, if let's say you go to an event, like a networking event, and it kind of gamifies the networking process.
Yeah.
And incentivizes other members in that group to specifically share their socials or connect or show for this, whatever it is. And, keeps pushing towards each other to keep doing more together.
Yeah.
And inside of that, because as well as I do, when you have big groups, subgroups develop, right?
Yeah.
So, you have these little tribes, let's call them, underneath this bigger app. And it's like, okay, there's a Latino tribe, there's a singles tribe, there's a women's tribe, kind of like, and they all start to push these people together. But all together under the app, it's kind of like, we're Tampa Entrepreneurs.
Sure.
So these little subgroups sort of like, hey, you can jump around. It's all under the same umbrella. But when we come together, like, say, for Tampa Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So obviously partially customizing it through AI, customizing something specifically to their groups, like events like, hey, next month is Spanish Latino Heritage Month. Here's the events going on. You express interest in this. Let's go together. How are we going to go together? Okay, here's a bus. We'll put together, like, it does like all the things that somebody has to run the ball on, and it helps you run the ball. So that makes it more effective. What do you think of that?
Well, I do think it's cash, because I do think there are other groups doing this kind of app. For example, Boss Talks, that's the women's networking group we have. It is a national organization, and we do have an app that allows us to be on subgroups based on what cities we're in and has the gamification in it. However, my background, which we didn't talk about as much as what I used to do, was in selling of software, specifically EMRs. And there was a lot of EMRs on the marketplace, and there was a fit for each different kind of one. So I definitely still think it is a cash idea. It's just figuring out based on what's currently on the market, what would really be differentiating for a specific type of community or specific type of group that the current options available aren't really meeting their needs.
What is an EMR?
An electronic medical records,
Gotcha.
or EHR, electronic health record software. That's how I got into specifically the business brokering niche within the healthcare space, because I'd been in that world about 9 years previously.
Well, so thank you for illuminating me that this does exist, which is even better because it eliminates this need to blue ocean / recreate the wheel. It's kind of just twisting it or directing it in a certain way to modify it. For me, the USP is the gamification, meaning there's outcomes. And if you collectively achieve these particular outcomes, whether it's, hey, we're gonna all together go clean up a community, or we're all together gonna just go do this one thing. The higher points you get, the higher ranking and status and privileges and attention and everything you need for your business. It makes it a lot easier because you're showing leadership, servant leadership, or however that translates.
Right.
And, not everybody's going to do it, but more leaders will develop, because I feel like networking groups are great, but there's always these you're a perfect example. When we went to your event, who's running this business? And everybody wants to go to these 5 or 6 people. Yeah. But what if there were more leaders than that to offset that? What would their ambassadors or whatever look like? Yeah. Or you would achieve that so that the network doesn't drain you, it actually energizes you, because networking can be draining.
Oh yes, I hibernate for a week after this.
I know, I can tell you right now, I'm introverted, but then I'm extroverted to a certain point, but then I have to go and decompress and be away from people for a while, because I just spent tomorrow probably I'll just be probably have some extra drinks. But the point is, it's like I want to just not talk, right? Right. So, glad you like that. It's something, it's something to bat around. Maybe that's something we end up working on. Who knows? Yeah,
and offline, I'll connect you with a couple different groups that might be doing something. Yeah. Within a similar realm, but it may not be exactly how you have it pictured, and that's where you can then take to the next level. I think even with what I had brought up as our idea is, there is probably in this conversation, there's been how many different new AI solutions have come on the marketplace since we've been sitting down at this table? I don't know, but probably more than 1 or 2 that got launched. And so it's all about, like you said, it's not necessarily needing to be blue ocean, but how to evolve it, adapt it, and really strengthen it for what we're going to look for. And speaking of ambassadors, we will be offering, we call them our dream team with Tampa Entrepreneurs. So those that are really awesome leaders, we will start to have opportunities to allow some other leaders to kind of take some roles. And we are so fortunate for people like you, Jason, who have a desire to get involved with Tampa Entrepreneurs and make it even more than it already is. And I think that's part of the vision of Tampa Entrepreneurs. It's people that, it's impact over income. It's individuals that you can do life with, not just business with. And I think that kind of very much embraces who you are as an individual and what some of these ideas are.
Well, thank you very much. And definitely want to see what I can do there. And, we did talk about that, part of this is going to become a version of that community outreach. Yes. Because right now this is you got to come to us. Yeah. But now I'm thinking, well, you know what? Let me start going to people and, having some more fun with it. So, this is constantly evolving. And I think that's what we're supposed to do as entrepreneurs, adapt, evolve, and grow or die. Pretty much that's it. So cool. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add? Well, you probably could add a million things. How about this? I want to ask you one question, and then we're going to wrap this up. Sure. What's one contrarian sort of thought that you have that people would probably fight or argue with you about, that for example, some kind of cliche I don't know, teamwork makes the dream work, or your network is your net worth. Something that people say, but you're an unpopular or a controversial opinion that you might have.
I think we maybe talked about that a little bit earlier when I had stated there's double standards in this world, and I'm okay with that. Yes, there's certain things that I'm doing to move the needle forward and try to support the evolvement of systems so that way there is opportunities for all. However, I think there's a lot of opportunity within the fact that there are double standards and there can be more pros for whether it's men or women.
I gotta give you one of these. You know why?
Why?
Because you just said something that every man kind of wants to throw out there and women are usually arguing with, and yes, you're right, they're double standards, but there's some for you too.
Oh my goodness.
And you might as well, we're just saying like, hey, we take advantage of ours, you take advantage of yours.
Yeah.
This is the game. These are unfortunately the rules. You want to change the game. Wait, if you want to change the rules, play a different game. Make up a different game, and then you get to make the rules. This is what we're not stuck with, but this is where we're at. And to get out of that game, to create a new game, you got to just play this game really, really well. Then you can move on to that game. And that
I agree.
Spend your time making your own game, I guess you could say, versus trying to change the game that everybody else is playing, because it ain't gonna help.
I alluded to this a little bit earlier too. I don't know how the podcast might be broken up, so maybe you have or haven't heard this, but I wouldn't have the privilege of being a business broker if I had been a 22-year-old male. I have this opportunity because I was female, and there are going to be places that, again, you can be a quote unquote target, or there are places you can be an agent. And I encourage everyone to surround themselves with people that do listen to what it is that you have to say and value how that kind of comes out, because if you are in those rooms, it does not matter age, gender, color, whatever it might be, but you do have to kind of get past that first step and get the door open. And then once you're in it, you can utilize what's inside.
You can be a victim, but that doesn't mean you have to have a victim mentality. You just switch it up. You're like, all right, this is what it is. I'm going to fix that. But right now, that's a problem for later. Right now, this is where I'm at, and this is what I got to get past, and we can worry about that later. People, too many people get stuck up on that first part, and it's just like, oh God. If this is you in the beginning, I don't even want to deal with you. I don't even want to take this road with you. It's just too much.
And let me tell you, for the first 27 years of my life, my default was victim mentality. I was a victim. Why me? Why this? Why that? Why do I care? Why do I feel this way? Da 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 da. Until I realized, well, those are really great things about me because I care. That means I have the opportunity to feel greater happiness than someone who doesn't care. And when I started to realize, because I accepted less than I think I should deserve, that's the why me. I'm the denominator. I said, okay, you can keep, I'll keep staying in these situations. I'll keep staying in these environments. And that was an interesting day. And one of my favorite, and I don't know who said it, one of my favorite quotes is, our ability to grow is directly proportional to our ability to look at oneself in the mirror. And when I looked in the mirror and was like, I was my own villain. I was the reason I was allowing people into my space that weren't acknowledging or valuing me the way that I desired to be. And that's when I decided to take ownership. I mean, a lot of people know, what is it? It's Jocko, Extreme Ownership. I actually didn't read that book. I read his other one, but I do know it's the premise. I would definitely recommend either the Jocko books, The Dichotomy of Leadership, or Extreme Ownership.
I hate to say this, I have the book and I still haven't cracked it.
Yeah.
And it was a gift from somebody. That sucks. Now that you reminded me, I got to go get it. I got to go open it up.
And I mean, I will say, that wasn't the book that, changed my life, but I will say Extreme Ownership changed my life. And how I was able to take extreme ownership was through the use of gratitude. Gratitude for everything, even if I didn't believe it in that moment. I'm grateful for this pain because then I have something to learn for it. I'm, grateful for the fact that I made this mistake because I have the opportunity to learn it at a smaller scale and it not be a colossal situation. So for that one, I'd recommend, it's the sequel to The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. It's a 28-day gratitude practice book, and I owe a lot to gratitude and extreme ownership.
Nice. I actually, gratitude has been a theme this week. I actually started practicing. I mean, I've done it before, but I I just have it in my reminder. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
60 seconds of gratitude no matter what every morning. Just
Yeah.
start thinking. And then, it starts with that. And then it does definitely reset you. It sets you right for the day.
It's also just a perspective of whatever it is you're going through. And those who know me for more than just, this past year, I was very anxious a lot. I still get a little bit of anxiety. And that's a very common thing we see in society today. But if you can say, I'm grateful, I'm worrying about what tomorrow brings, that means I care about what tomorrow brings. I care about what my clients are going through. And it just gives you a different lens to look at it through. So in part, that's kind of, again, how I hope that if anyone can take that little bit of information and it helps them feel a little less anxious or a little happier, and they don't have to go through as many days of being low or worrying, that to me would be a success for legacy.
Thank you for that inspiration. How do people, now that they've gotten a good dose of who you are, how do they connect with you, Tampa Entrepreneurs? How do you want them to connect with you and continue the conversation with you, I guess?
Absolutely. I would say probably the bulk of listeners have Instagram. I am Jenna, Jenna, Leigh, S on Instagram. Otherwise, you can find me through Tampa Entrepreneurs, PCG, which stands for Provenance Consulting Group. And probably, I'm sure if you reach out to Jason, he said he's a self-identified connector as well. I'm sure he'd put you in contact with me. I love to have a conversation. I love to learn from others, and would love to see you at either, if you want to come to Tampa Entrepreneurs or a future Boss Talks event. We definitely have the ability to bring you out to any of those.
Is the next one planned out then? Because I was going to say the best way to get the full experience, she might not be able to talk to you too much that day, but like you should go to a Tampa Entrepreneurs event, because they've been fun. Alan can attest to it. He's behind the camera. We hung out there when I met you that day. When's the next one?
Not sure when. Yet? No, I do know. I'm not sure when this podcast is going to get released. So to my co-founders, if this is out before we officially announce, I am apologizing. So you guys hear it first, October 12th. It is a Thursday. You
know what?
Tell me.
The 14th is my birthday.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Road trip. Party time.
Yeah.
Jenna's got the bar tab. It's on here. You heard Joey. You heard guys. Y'all subsidizing my birthday back. No, I'm kidding. But that's cool. That's a good time. I love October. It's like Halloween and my birthday, like my favorite month. And
so we're really excited to do that. It'll be a little bit cooler time of year here in Tampa. We feel it's just a little before all the Halloween parties start, a little before, you get really into Thanksgiving and the holiday season. We find that there is a ton of events going on, so we really wanted to produce something for all of you just before all the craziness happens. And
you can wear a jacket because it's not crazy hot like the last one, but I still did it. But awesome. Better weather. Even October weather is sweet here. It's
yes.
Awesome. That's it. How'd you like it? I mean,
this was great. Yeah, I feel like, depending on how it gets cut up, there might be kind of interweaving or confusing some of the things I said, just because I have my hand in a couple different organizations.
You know what? In the end, it all turned out great. It gets cut up, but I like the live stuff too. I mean, we shouldn't just be known for like our perfection. We should be known for like the little flaws and the mistakes we make, because nobody likes a perfect person. You're like, I can't be that person. So just don't even sweat it. I think it's better when it's authentic, and sometimes a little messy. It's like cooking. You're gonna get in the kitchen and get your hands dirty and see what comes out,
So I have to ask you, can I ask a question or two before we sign off?
Hell no. No, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna ask anyway. What do you think the biggest value what's the biggest, I guess, value that you desire to bring to your listeners when you bring people like myself and others on?
It's funny, but it's not an immediate thing. Mm-hmm. It happens to me every once in a while. And what I mean is this. Every once in a while, somebody, and it happened here in this building maybe month and a half ago.
Sure.
Somebody tells me, dude, I've been following you for 15 years. Oh. I remember when you were this, and this, and this. And I always said I wanted to do business with that person, and now here you are. And I was like, oh, it's actually worth it because of stuff like this. So
Yeah.
for me, it's not about the immediate like status bump, influence, whatever. It's more
Sure.
about like the later on, because you know what? Those are the kind of things that knock you out of your lane and bring you back to where you're supposed to, where
Sure.
you know, like where you doing the right thing. Because we're always trying to evolve, change, tinker, right?
Yeah.
That remind you that you're still doing what you're supposed to be doing and what you
Yeah.
love. They bring you back because you're like, oh, it's like something in the past. And I guess that's the legacy part of it. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
got 6 kids and I know that I'm not going to live forever, but I'll live through them, right? So these little seeds that get dropped, this podcast, whoever finds it, maybe your idea becomes the next, you know, unicorn, right? I was a part of that. Like
Yeah.
seeing that. Talking for talking's sake and in circles, that's great too. But the results of a conversation, because if you believe, you know, if you're spiritual, you believe in God, you know, in the beginning was the word. It's the word that starts, and then it's the, you know, first it's a belief really, but then the spoken word is actually creation. Something's being created. And we're right now creating, like that's what we do. So what gets created is always interesting to see what that seed grows. And like that conversation, or the every once in a while, the occasional, oh yeah, this, that, and the other, that kind of makes me happy because it's like, cool, I'm not just out here feeling alone doing this by myself. I try to surround myself with people like you because we're in the trenches together. So it's good to know where the other soldiers are on your team,
Sure.
like in forward direction. But the civilians
Yeah.
telling you you're doing the right thing and you're inspiring, that's more, and that's probably why, you know, guys like Tony Robbins and all these, maybe that's
Sure.
what they get from it too. I don't know. But in my own small way, that's what gives me the most kind of
Yeah. So
desire. So does that answer your question adequately?
definitely helps me understand sort of, you know, what you desire and to get out of it. But I guess why do listeners want to listen to, you know, why do listeners want to listen to my story? Or the person before me or after me? Not me specifically.
Because every once in a while you'll get lucky enough to say the right thing and the right ear hears it. Doing this, you know, Alan's behind the camera, right? But he's told me there's things that I've said that have helped him grow. So I know that if enough people hear it, they're going to grow in some way. I don't know what that looks like,
Sure.
but it's either keep it inside and no one grows, or put it out there and somebody grows. Because if it stays up in here, it just gets rotten, stagnant. I get frustrated.
Sure.
This show is about getting things out of your head and into the world, whether, you know, they live or die. The point is, now it's not spinning around in my head, cluttering my mind because it's out there in the world. Let's see what it does. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like literally it's therapy. And somebody said that, enough people said, podcast is just people's therapy these days. And it's like, yeah, in a way, but we just kind of want to be heard. And even if it's by one person, right? So what that person takes from it, it's not your responsibility anymore. It's not your business what people think of you. It's what you do to produce, give back to the world, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're not here just to consume. We're supposed to produce. This is just my way of doing it in my lane, the thing I like to do. And, you know, hopefully there's more and bigger outcomes, but baby steps, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, hopefully somebody takes that from it. Like, oh, I should just start. This guy sucks. Yeah, okay, I suck. Do better. And then show it to me, and maybe I'll come on yours if you want me to. I don't know. So,
Well, absolutely. My intent for asking that was really hoping that we were able to, in our conversation today, give your listeners and what you want to give your listeners a little bit of that. So we'll have to see, because that's going to be relative to what people hear and how they perceive it.
I want to give listeners the idea that they can develop a decent relationship with someone by having a conversation like this, because that's all this is, like networking, right? And this is, you don't get to do this in networking meetings. There's no me and you sitting down for an hour without somebody coming in like this. So full disclosure, for me, this is more for me than for you, unfortunately. Hopefully you get something from it, but this is my way of being able to move forward and take that for what it is. Go out there with a camera, start interviewing people. I mean, that's what we do all the time now, because that's a way for you to connect to other people and find somebody who could really likes the path you're on, and you can join them on theirs or they can join you on yours, and you move forward instead of alone in your head, doing nothing but consuming, and it's stagnant and no energy moves around in the world and nothing happens because it stays with you. Don't let it stay with you. And if that's anything I want to give to other people, is like, whatever you got, don't keep it inside. Just get it out there, see what it does, and then keep the flow going, keep the energy moving, keep the the impact, the ideas, everything, because everything dies without that moving, like moving water, right? Water has to move or it gets stagnant, and then it gets rotten, and then it gets poisonous. That's what's happening inside of you if you keep it all in. That's how I feel. So,
love it.
Power bump. Hey, so you're not Black Widow, but the Avengers, the Tampa Entrepreneur Avengers, definitely need you on their team. I don't know what you want to identify. You could be Iron Man. Who would you identify as an Avenger? It doesn't matter the gender. Who's your favorite?
I don't know any of the Avengers.
See, it's a good thing too, because this would go too long. All right, Jenna, take us out. Give us a way to get out of this Trash or Cash podcast where people feel like, you're the boss babe that you truly are.
All I have to say is, if you're still listening, I'm so grateful that you decided to hear a little bit about what Jason and I had to say today. Would love to talk with you further. Feel free to connect with me, and there'll be plenty of times that we can try and learn more and see how we can grow, have synergies, or just have a cup of coffee.
I'm going to end it with, just come to the next Tampa Entrepreneurs Party. You heard it. It's sometime in October. So if you're in Philadelphia, because I know a lot of you guys over there listen to this, make your plans to come that weekend.
We did have the 500 spots pretty much grabbed in about under 48 hours at our last event. There you'll get to see, I think, actions speak louder than words. So I would love to be evaluated. Come on out and see how Tampa Entrepreneurs, Boss Talks, Provenance Consulting Group. You have a healthcare business you want to sell. Also have my hands in random other little projects. So if there's anything you want to talk about, would be happy to get on the phone. So I had just stated actions speak louder than words, and really hope there's an opportunity to get a chance to meet anyone who may have listened this far. One of my favorite things is to be around people that are authentic, but I define the term authentic in what I find to be a unique way. I call it clarity and consistency, meaning you communicate and say whatever it is that you are, and the consistency is you're showing up and how you said it. So you could be a bully, you could be a little bit of a jerk. If you own it, you're still authentic. And I think authenticity is something that, doing things like these podcasts, you have the opportunity to really dive into and see who individuals are. As you can't really, it's hard to play a different character for more than a couple minutes, right?
I got a lot of characters. I feel like I'm, what do you call it? Different personalities, what they call it, schizophrenic sometimes. But aside from that, how do I measure up to that authenticity grade? Let's say, am I A, B, C, or a scale of 1 to 10? How do you grade on the C squared scale, the consistency? How do I measure up?
I like that C squared scale. I'm gonna get that. Might have to look at getting that trademarked. I would say, when we were introduced, your clarity, your speaking, your intent was to end up here, was to end up in this environment. So I think actions definitely spoke that way, especially after I had to cancel on the last one because of being sick. We still found a way to make it happen, and I think that shows truly who you are. You gave grace where I needed it, and still we got to end up at this table, and I got to learn more about you, and that's exactly what you intended. That's exactly how you stated it, and you showed up in that way. So
thank you.
C squared.
C squared. So the grade is A, B, C.
I'll take it as an A.
I'm an A student. I got A's and B's in school, so I guess that's to be expected. But I'll take other entrepreneurs' validation is always more appreciated than the random stranger saying, "Hey, nice hair." Because I get that a lot too. But it's like, but if you knew the reason behind this, you'd probably like it even more. But thanks for the compliment. There you have it. All right, that's it for us, guys. Trash or Cash podcast, and we are out.
Well, that concludes this episode of Trash or Cash. Make sure you follow on all socials at Trashmitter. That's TrashMitter. And keep up with all episodes at trashorcashpodcast.com.